Jesus' arrest, after his trial, after his crucifixion and his death, and after his burial, the Sabbath came and finished that Saturday evening. And then the same women who were there when Jesus was buried, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, they went out and purchased burial spices to anoint Jesus' body. And early that Sunday morning, just at dawn, they made their way to the tomb, carrying with them their spices. And as they walked along, they said to one another, "How are we going to get into the tomb? Who is going to move that big stone for us?" But when they got there, they looked up and they could see that the stone had already been rolled away from the entrance of the tomb. So they approached, and as they did, and they entered the tomb, they saw, sitting on the right-hand side, a young man dressed in white robes, and they were shocked and terrified. This man was an angel, and he said to them, "Do not be afraid. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth. He's not here. He has risen from the dead. Look, this is where his body was. It's not here. Go and tell his disciples, especially Peter, that he is alive and he will meet you in Galilee, just as he told you when he was alive." And so the women, they were trembling and they ran back to tell the other disciples, but the story just sounded like nonsense to the disciples, so they didn't hardly believe what the women were saying. But Peter, he wanted to see for himself, so he ran back to the tomb and he looked inside. And all he saw was just the burial cloths that Jesus had been wrapped in. So he left, went home, confused. And that same day, 2 of the followers of Jesus were fleeing from Jerusalem. They were on foot, making their way to a town called Emmaus. And as they walked along, they were discussing all the things that had just happened. And as they walked along, Jesus appeared and began walking with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing who it truly was. And Jesus listened to the things that they were saying, and he said, "What are all these things that you're discussing so intensely?" And the 2 men, they stopped short and they looked at him and they said, "You must be the only person in all of Jerusalem who hasn't heard these things." And Jesus said, "What things?" And they said, "The things that have happened to Jesus of Nazareth. He was a mighty prophet who performed signs and wonders. And he was a teacher, a powerful teacher in the eyes of the people and of God. And, well, the priests and the high priest and the Pharisees, they took him and they condemned him to death. And we had all hoped that he would be the Messiah, the one to rescue us, to save Israel. And this just happened a few days ago. But then, this morning, we heard the story that some of the women who followed Jesus, they went to the tomb this morning and they saw an angel who told them that Jesus was not dead, but that he was actually alive. And some of the men, they went to go see for themselves, and they said, sure enough, the body wasn't there. And Jesus said, "You foolish people, you find it so difficult to believe everything that was written about the Messiah in the scriptures. Wasn't it clearly predicted that the Messiah would suffer all of these things before entering his glory?" And then he began to teach them and explain to them all of the scriptures, everything concerning himself. And they walked along, and the sun began to sink in the sky. And as evening approached, they reached Emmaus, and Jesus acted as if he was going to carry on for the night. But the 2 men said, "Oh, no, stay with us. Just rest for tonight. You can carry on in the morning." And Jesus agreed, and he went in, and they sat down to eat. And Jesus, he took the bread, and he blessed it. And then he broke it. And then he handed it to them. And then they saw who it truly was, who was with them the whole time. Their eyes were opened, and in that moment, he disappeared. And they said to each other, "Weren't our hearts burning within us as he explained the scriptures to us on the road?" And within that very hour, they were back on the road, headed toward Jerusalem. And they found the other disciples and others who were gathered with them. And they told them everything that had just happened, how they walked on the road, how Jesus was walking with them, but they didn't recognize him, how Jesus explained the scriptures, and how as they were breaking bread together that night, they knew who it was. And in that moment, Jesus was there with them in the very room. And they were terrified and they were shocked because they thought they were seeing a ghost. But Jesus said, "Peace be with you." But they were still afraid. And he said, look at my hands. Look at my feet, touch me. Ghosts don't have bodies, but you can see that I do. It's me. But they were still shocked and in awe and wonder. And Jesus said, "Do you have anything to eat?" And so they brought to him a piece of broiled fish, and he ate it in front of them, and they just watched. And Jesus said, "When I was with you before, I explained to you everything that was written about me, the Messiah, in the scriptures, from the Psalms, from the law of Moses, from the prophets. I explained that it was written long, long ago that the Messiah would suffer, would die, and after 3 days, rise again from the dead. I also explained to you that my message would be proclaimed in the authority of my name throughout the whole world, starting here in Jerusalem. And this is my message, that there is now forgiveness of sins to all who turn to God. And you will be my witness of all of these things."
I was buried beneath my shame. Who would carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was waiting but not alive. And all my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you, you called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan. Now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, to your glorious day.